If there were ever an award for the brightest sunny disposition and most charming smile, American actress Doris Day would surely have won it, probably more than once, known for her girl-next-door image. Day was beloved by many in the entertainment industry, which only added to her widespread popularity. But in today's video, I'm going to uncover the untold truth about Doris Day and reveal how much she struggled behind the glitz and glamour of the spotlight. So, keep watching to learn more. Before becoming the Hollywood icon we remember, today, Doris Day began her journey just like any ordinary person. Born Doris Marianne Kapilhoff on April 3, 1922. She was the youngest child of Alma Sophia and William Joseph Kapilhoff. The future star came from a German-American family and was named after Doris Kenyon, well-known film and television actress of that era. The family lived in Cincinnati, Ohio, where her mother was a homemaker and her father worked as a choir master and music teacher. Doris had two older brothers, Richard, who tragically passed away before she was born, and Paul. Though Doris inherited her musical talents and passion from her father, it was her mother who showered her with love and affection. Her father, on the other hand, was distant and dismissive, a result of an affair he was having behind her mother's back. Eventually, her parents divorced when Doris was just 10 years old. In 1932, from a young age, Doris showed a keen interest in dancing, though her first experience left her feeling like a nervous wreck. She quickly overcame her fears and developed a quiet confidence, not arrogance, that allowed her to challenge her family's strict Catholic values. She joined a local dance team and soon became known for her exceptional talent. Had tragedy not struck on the night before a major event, Doris Day might have become a renowned professional dancer. When Doris Day and her friends were preparing to move to Los Angeles, tragedy struck. At just 15 years old, she was hit by a freight train that shattered her right leg. In her memoir, Doris Day, her own story, she recalled not fully realizing the severity of her injury at first. She remembered how her legs suddenly wouldn't hold her up like they used to. It wasn't until she dragged herself away from the wreckage that she saw the sharp ends of shattered bones protruding from her leg. Then she passed out. That moment shattered Doris Day's dream of becoming a professional dancer, but instead of breaking her spirit, it led her to discover a new passion. During the months she spent recovering in the hospital, she found herself singing along to the radio. She loved the sounds of Duke Ellington, Glenn Miller, Benny Goodman, and Tommy Dorsey. But the singer who inspired her the most was the legendary Ella Fitzgerald. There was a quality to her voice that fascinated me. Day later said, "I'd sing along with her, trying to catch the subtle way she shaded her voice, the casual yet clean way she sang the words." Impressed by her daughter's budding talent, Doris's mother arranged for singing lessons with Grace Rain. After just 3 sessions, Rain was convinced Doris had tremendous potential. She gave Doris 3 singing lessons a week for the price of 1, helping her sharpen her skills. 8 months later, Doris booked her first professional singing gig as the vocalist on Carlin's Carnival, a WLW radio program. She also performed at a local restaurant called Charlie Weiss, Shanghaian. It was during one of these radio shows that luck finally smiled on her. American orchestra leader and jazz musician Barney Rap heard her perform and invited her to audition for his band. Rap had auditioned 200 singers but chose Doris, who was still using her real name at the time. In 1939, he suggested she adopt the stage name Doris Day, because her last name was too long for marquees. Rap was particularly captivated by her version of Day After Day. From there, Doris's career took off. She worked with Bob Crosby, Jimmy Dorsey, and Les Brown. In fact, she toured with Les Brown's band for nearly 2 years, while continuing to develop her vocal talents. During her stint on Bob Hope's weekly radio program, Doris Day continued to build her career. It was also while working with Les Brown's band that she recorded one of her most enduring hits, Sentimental Journey. The song became an anthem for World War II servicemen, making her a beloved figure among the troops. Day owed her acting debut in the musical film Romance on the High Seas to songwriters Jules Stein and Sammy Cahn. Impressed by her rendition of Embraceable You, they recommended her for the role. Like many aspiring actresses, Doris still had to go through the audition process. But she was ultimately chosen by the film's director, Michael Curtis. When she learned she got the part, Doris admitted to Curtis that she had no acting experience. Nevertheless, he saw something special in her. Curtis appreciated her honesty and thought her freckles gave her the perfect, all-American girl look. Doris went on to star and sing in several films, including the 1949 movie My Dream Is Yours, as well as musicals like On Moonlight Bay and By the Light of the Silvery Moon. Her fourth film with Curtis was the musical I'll See You in My Dreams, which was considered her most successful project under Warner Brothers. Between filming, her songs from these musicals regularly charted in the top 10. Notably, her 1953 duet with Frank Sinatra, Young at Heart, was a big hit. Dora Day's big breakthrough came when she landed the role of Ruth Edding in the 1955 musical romantic comedy Love Me or Leave Me, acting alongside James Cagney. Her performance was widely praised, with Cagney himself remarking that she had the ability to deliver a simple, direct idea without overcomplicating it. Though she was known for musicals and rom-coms, Doris proved she could handle more serious acting roles. In 1956, she starred in Alfred Hitchcock's mystery thriller, The Man Who Knew Too Much. Showcasing a different side of her talent, Doris Day was soon offered many more projects. But she truly reached the peak of her career with a series of romantic comedies. One of the most popular was Pillow Talk, which earned her an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress, the only Oscar nomination of her long and successful career. In Pillow Talk, she starred alongside actors. In Pillow Talk, Doris Day starred alongside Tony Randall and Rock Hudson, and the trio went on to work together in two more films, Lover Come Back and Send Me No Flowers. The early 1960s marked the peak of Doris Day's career. She became the top-ranked actress at the box office and was only the second woman ever to hold the #1 spot continuously, a feat previously matched only by Shirley Temple. During this golden era, Day starred in several popular hits such as Please Don't, Eat the Daisies, That Touch of Mink, The Thrill of It All, and Move Over Darling. Her last commercially successful film was Do Not Disturb in 1965. However, soon after, the sexual revolution shifted Hollywood's culture, and Doris Day's star power began to wane. By the 1970s, Day retreated from the spotlight. In an interview with People magazine, she explained her decision. Hollywood was changing in ways she didn't like. No longer felt like the town she knew. Although she remained open to future projects, she admitted she no longer cared for the Hollywood limelight like many stars. Doris Day found herself trapped by her charming persona and innocent image. She often played modest, wholesome characters, which earned her the nickname America's Oldest Virgin. In her memoir, she revealed how suffocating that image could be. In a separate interview with PBS, she elaborated saying, "I have the unfortunate reputation of being Miss Goody Two-Shoes, America's Virgin and all that, so I'm afraid it's going to shock some people for me to say this. But I staunchly believe no two people should get married until they have lived together." Beyond her public image, Doris Day struggled with insecurity about her looks. She believed she wasn't attractive enough, a surprising admission revealed by Norman Jewison, director of The Thrill of It All and Send Me No Flowers. Jewison once shared in an interview how Day viewed her own beauty with a humility few expected. Despite her stunning looks, Doris Day didn't believe she was attractive. Director Norman Jewison once said, "I thought she was beautiful. Millions of fans thought she was beautiful. Everyone she ever worked with thought she was beautiful, yet Doris remained unconvinced." Her co-star James Garner shared a similar view, even saying he preferred working with Doris over Elizabeth Taylor, another popular actress of the time. Garner believed every project Doris took on turned into box office gold, and he described her as sexy, someone who had no idea just how sexy she truly was, which only added to her charm. Behind Doris Day's cheerful, sunny screen persona, her love life was more complicated. She was married 4 times, with her first marriage to trombonist Al Jordan happening when she was just 17. At the time, she was struggling with the demands of touring and performing with big bands, she thought would be a happily ever after, quickly turned into a nightmare. It didn't take long for Doris to realize the man she loved wasn't the man she married. Just 2 days into their marriage, she discovered Jordan's violent side when he struck her after seeing her receive a wedding gift from one of his band members. The abuse continued for months. Doris admitted she wanted to leave but was pregnant with their son Terry, which held her back. She endured her husband's beatings, even recalling a terrifying moment when Jordan held a gun against her pregnant belly. She gave birth to their son, Terrence Paul Jordan, who later took the surname of her third husband, Martin Melcher. Fortunately, Doris found the strength to resist Jordan's intimidation and eventually kicked him out of their Cincinnati home in 1943. Doris married saxophonist George William Widler, who introduced her to Christian Science. However, this marriage was short-lived. They tied the knot on March 30, 1946, and divorced just over 2 months later on May 31. In 1949, Doris Day continued practicing Christian Science. Shortly after, she dated future U.S. President Ronald Reagan, her co-star in the 1952 film The Winning Team. In her memoir, Day remembered Reagan as not only a skilled dancer, but also an extroverted person who loved going out. What impressed her most was his eloquence, which made her think he was destined for speaking tours. However, their romance soon ended. Doris Day married her third husband, American film producer Martin Melcher. On April 3, 1951, he also adopted her son Terry, who took Melcher's surname. Day and Melcher first met when she was fleeing from her abusive first husband, and for a time, she believed she had finally found her happy ending with Melcher. Imagine her shock. Then, when she discovered after Melcher's death that he had squandered most of her money and left her deep in debt. Even worse, Melcher had signed her up for the TV series The Dora Stage Show without her knowledge. In a 1995 interview with OK Magazine, Day described the experience. "I was really not very well when Marty passed away, and the thought of going into TV was overpowering." She added that her son Terry took her for a walk in Beverly Hills and explained that it wasn't just the series. She had also been signed up for numerous TV specials, all without her consent. Despite her initial reluctance, the Doris Day Show ran successfully for 5 years, from 1968 to 1973. As for her finances, Doris was fortunate to win a $22 million lawsuit against her late husband's former business partner, Jerome Rosenthal, who was charged with fraud and malpractice. Doris's fourth and final marriage was to Barry Comden in 1976. Comden was the maitre d' at one of her favorite restaurants when they met. Knowing her love for animals, he used it to get close to her by handing her a bag of meat scraps and bones for her pets. Ironically, this love for animals became a point of tension in their marriage, with Comden later complaining that Doris cared more about her furry friends than about him. For someone as bright and talented as Doris Day, one might expect a happily ever after, with a supportive husband. Sadly, most of her marriages didn't turn out that way, despite her many marriage struggles. You might be surprised to learn that Doris Day was connected, albeit indirectly, to a notorious figure. As mentioned earlier, Doris had only one child from her first marriage to Al Jordan. Her son Terry, who took on the surname Melcher after Doris's third husband, grew up to become a successful music producer. Terry even crossed paths with the infamous cult leader and criminal, Charles Manson. At one point, Terry almost signed Manson to a record deal, but in 1969, Manson committed the infamous Tate murders at Benedict Canyon, the very home where Terry and his then-girlfriend Candice Bergen had once lived. Doris Day learned of the tragedy through the radio, hearing that Sharon Tate and others had been murdered at Benedict Canyon. Turned out Manson held a grudge against Terry and targeted his former residence. Fearing for their safety, Doris and Terry were placed under 24-hour protection. From that point on, Terry later took on managing Doris's career, writing in her memoir how he often played a parental role in her life. 90% of the time, as she put it. Terry passed away in 2004 after a long battle with melanoma. Doris shared in a 2011 interview with Reuters that her song My Buddy was about him, explaining how much she missed him and wanted the song to always be there for him. In her later years, Doris Day became widely known for her passionate advocacy of animal welfare. Her love for animals dates back to the 1950s. She was filming the mystery thriller, The Man Who Knew Too Much. During filming, she witnessed animals being mistreated in a marketplace and was so distraught that she refused to continue working unless the animals were properly cared for and provided with feeding stations. Nearly 2 decades later, in 1971, she co-founded the group Actors and Others for Animals alongside other Hollywood stars like Angie Dickinson, Mary Tyler Moore, and Jane Meadows, who all denounced the use of fur. Then, in 1978, Doris founded the Doris Day Pet Foundation, independent nonprofit dedicated to supporting animal welfare causes. This organization later became known as the Doris Day Animal Foundation (DDAF), working alongside the Doris Day Animal League (DDAL), founded in 1987. Beyond her animal advocacy, Doris also raised awareness and funds for HIV/AIDS research and support. While many Hollywood stars continued acting well into their later years, Doris Day chose to retire in her early 50s to focus on animal welfare activism and maintained close family ties. She spent her later life in peaceful retirement in Carmel, Bethesda, California, surrounded by her beloved pets and many adopted strays. On May 13, 2019, Doris Day passed away at her California home from pneumonia at the age of 97. The Doris Day Animal Foundation announced the sad news. Honoring her wishes, no funeral services were held, and she was laid to rest without a grave marker.